The Movie Preview Critic. Informing and entertaining your movie world.
What's up, good movie lovers? Welcome to the Box Office Breakdown. The numbers for the weekend of April 10th through the 12th are in, so there's only one thing left for us to do.
Break it down.
Sunday night, as the box office results for this weekend were announced, I actually shed a few tears. Tears of pride and hope. Tears of thanks to the audience for taking a stand and screaming, "We're not gonna reward another movie." Specifically, we owe a thanks to the Dragon Ball fanboys. They deserve recognition from all good movie lovers around the world because they recognize that this adaptation wasn't faithful to the original material that won their devotion in the first place. They recognized it for being what it is, a quick way for H-Wood to try and make some guaranteed box office and hopefully have a franchise that could at least give them a movie every year that they could count on for big dollars. It's obvious the filmmakers didn't give a shit about doing the right thing for the fans. And in the battle for good movies, in the war to stop the moviepocalypse, this is a key moment, a key victory. With a $100 million budget, this cinematic abomination made a pathetic $4.7 million, coming in 8th place. This is our win of the year so far. Never before has the box office psychic been so happy to be so wrong. Last week, it seemed like the Fast and the Furious left us with no hope. A great weekend for Dragon Ball seemed inevitable, until we made our stand. But let's not get cocky, since last week, with Fast and the Furious making over $70 million, we had our fail of the year. This is a great redemption, but it brings us back to even. Right now it's sort of like WW1 with the trench warfare that's going nowhere and in a stalemate at the moment. As a result of last week's Fast and Furious catastrophe, H-Wood has announced that remakes, reboots, and adaptations are going into high gear. H-Wood is basically saying, we have no original ideas, and if we did, we're too scared to make them because we want easy money attached to franchise names. Combine that with a worldwide recession, and H-Wood is in safe mode. No risks, just hits. Dragon Ball is a blueprint of what we can expect to see in the next 2 years if we, the good movie lovers of the world, don't stand together. With Dragon Ball, we sent a message. If H-Wood is going to make our favorite mangas, or comics, or cartoons, TV shows, at least put some effort into it. Make it creative, stay true to the source material, and don't act like the fans don't know shit. Because we do, and this smackdown we put on Dragon Ball, the de-evolution of cinema, is and should be the beginning of something special. We get an A++++++ for our box office behavior here. But beware, there is word of a sequel in the works, which may be on hold or, even worse, might be transformed into a reboot. I actually wouldn't mind if they did Dragon Ball the right way, but we all know when priority number one is money and not the fans, the end product is going to be cinematic on a stick. If H-Wood really wanted to make a great Dragon Ball movie, they would have hired the Wachowski brothers. I just watched Speed Racer the other day, and the tone and visuals for that movie would have worked perfectly in Dragon Ball. Take another look at it and imagine Dragon Ball done in that kind of tone and style. What do you think? What director would have made this movie better? And just in general, did you see Dragon Ball? Did you not? And why? Share your thoughts. In first place this week was the Disney juggernaut Hannah Montana, proving that the Jonas Brothers are her bitch. She brings in $32.3 million. She's definitely the queen of tweens. This movie has nothing special creatively, but it's made for a certain crowd, which are 8 to 16-year-old girls, who don't really have any other kind of cinematic franchises that they can relate to. You can expect a big drop-off here next week because all the fans showed up this week, so it'll make about 50 to 60 million before it leaves theaters, which will mean a sequel is on the way. For fans of Hannah Montana, they get an A for this. This is a figure for their generation, someone they can relate to, and they're supporting her. For the rest of us, we also get an A because we didn't go support an obvious cash-in opportunity for Disney. Observe and Report is the other new release this week, With a budget of $18 million, it made 11, coming in 4th place. That's not bad considering it's basically Taxi Driver meets Paul Blart. This is a test of how strong Seth Rogen's star is. On his own, without Judd Apatow or Jonah Hill or Jason Segel co-starring, or without a marijuana-related storyline, he brings in about $11 million. Let's give ourselves an A here also. This is a rare example of a movie made from an original screenplay. It's not based on a game, book, an old movie, or TV show. So it's nice to support original ideas, but the problem here is that it's not all that great of a movie. The tone is dark, and while watching it, you laugh more to fill uncomfortable silences instead of real gut-busting created laughter. This is from director Jody Hill, who also made The Fistfoot Way, which wasn't the greatest comedy either, but did have some original comedic moments. This is an important part of supporting and making original movies. It's great that they exist, but they have to be good. Just because they're indie or different doesn't mean that they deserve our time, money, and energy. The best indie movies take the strengths of the H. Wood story formula system while keeping the heart, soul, and freedom of exploring new ideas, whether it's comedy, horror, drama, or whatever genre. Here's the rest of the top 10, along with the grades. As for this week, let's take a look at what's coming up and try to figure out what the box office will be by asking
The box office psychic.
State of Play is a Michael Clayton wannabe, and that's because one of the writers on the script is Michael Clayton director Tony Gilroy. It stars Russell Crowe and Ben Affleck, and kinda seems like a Lifetime movie injected with some testosterone. A congressman has a mistress, she dies, and it looks like he did it. So now a reporter who's friends with the congressman has to investigate. Seems kinda like No Way Out meets All the President's Men. Interesting, but nothing too amazing. Russell Crowe and Ben Affleck don't really have the drawing power that they used to, so look for this to make about $15 million. The 25 to 45-year-olds might be interested to check it out, and women in that age bracket might go for the hunk factor. It's been a while since Ben Affleck was in front of the camera, so that might give them a reason to check it out. Then there's Crank, High Voltage, aka Crank Part 2. I have to admit, the first Crank is a guilty pleasure of mine. It's basically Speed inside of a person. It's so ridiculous and over the top, but that's what makes it a lot of fun. It's a great example of a movie you don't expect much from on an emotional level. It's just a roller coaster ride. You just want to go, turn your brain off, have a wild ride, have a little bit of fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. The original Crank made $13 million domestically, so look for the sequel to make about 20. It's built an audience on DVD, and because it stars Jason Statham, it almost seems like he's playing the Transporter character. So this could be called Transporter 5, if you consider the original Crank Transporter 3 or 2 or 4, whichever part. Overall, this should be over the top enough to be worthy of checking out as a matinee on the big screen. And then there's our
Moviepocalypse Battle of the Week.
17 again. Zac Efron and Matthew Perry star in this movie about a late 30-something dad who somehow becomes a teenager again. This is so unoriginal and a true insult to our movie intelligence. Let's just take a quick review of similar movies that have come out over the last 20 years. In 2003, there was 13 Going on 30, which is basically this story, but in reverse. That was the female version. Here we have the male version. Also, in 1987, there was Like Father Like Son with Kirk Cameron and Dudley Moore. The storyline had a similar spirit, but here it was father and son switching places, which was the idea of Vice Versa that came out the next year, 1988, with Fred Savage and Judge Reinhold. Also in 1988 was 18 Again, starring George Burns, which was another body switch movie, this time between a grandfather and grandson. And let's not forget Freaky Friday from 2003, where mother and daughter switched places. And that was a remake of a 1976 movie. Then there's Peggy Sue Got Married from 1986, where she's older and married, and she gets to go back in time and relive her youth. So the idea of body switching or becoming young again, whether it's through time travel or just some sort of voodoo black magic spell, has been done before, and each generation needs their version of this story with their own stars. Here, it's Zac Efron. And overall, that's fine. It's not going to be Shakespeare, but at least it could have had some redeeming qualities. The idea of an older person getting a chance to be young has potential. There's really some great thematic opportunities to explore what it means to be young again, just starting out life, versus being older, with many of the big life decisions already made. Unfortunately, it looks like this will take the safe Disney Lifetime route and avoid any new real exploration of this territory. It would have been cool to see this as sort of a revolutionary road meets Chum Scrubber. But instead, we're going to get Family Man meets High School Musical, which is what's going to really bring in the dollars. Look for this to be number 1 this weekend. 13 on 30 made $21 million domestically its opening weekend. Look for this to do around the same, about 20, making it a tween back-to-back repeat at the box office. They put Miley on top last week, and this week will lift Zach on their shoulders. If it makes any more than that, it's going to mean bad news for our movie future. So let's get out there and fight a good fight. So what do you think? What movie are you going to be seeing this weekend, and how much money do you think these movies are going to make? That's it for this week. Thanks for hanging out and visiting our movie past and considering our movie future. Till next week, take care, choose your movies wisely, because remember, Hwood gives us more of what we pay for. And as always,
long live good movies.